Now, we've established that yes, water is polar, and so is the head of a phospholipid. But the thing is that, are they the only example of polar covalent bonds and hydrogen bonding in the body? Nope, that's not the only examples. So the thing is that here we have oxygen and hydrogen, but can only oxygen and hydrogen participate in hydrogen bonding? Well, the thing is that two other atoms can actually pull away electrons from hydrogen, thus allowing hydrogen bonding. One other example of this is nitrogen. Here we have a bunch of ammonia molecules. So nitrogen is going to steal these electrons a little more away from the hydrogen atoms. So here we have hydrogen bonding between nitrogen and hydrogen. Now, if you had a very thorough professor in the past, they might have told you it's not just oxygen and nitrogen, but fluorine can also form hydrogen bonds. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, what molecule in the body has fluorine in it? And you are correct. Fluorine is not part of your normal physiology, but why is this relevant? Well, thing is that fluorinated drugs are a very important concept in pharmacological drug design. So here we have fluoxetine, aka Prozac. And notice that you have all these fluorine atoms attached to here. So the thing with fluorine is that it can form very polar covalent bonds, or even in certain configurations, hydrophobic bonds. So the thing is that when you add these fluorine groups, it can change the hydrophilic or hydrophobic properties of a drug. So if you want is a very strong fluorine hydrogen bond being formed, you can add fluorine molecules to help a drug bind more strongly to an enzyme or receptor to cause stronger pharmacological effects. So we talked about what can't pass through the plasma membrane. So what can pass through? So small molecules, some molecules like oxygen and carbon dioxide and gases, they're small enough that they can squeeze between these phospholipids. So again, oxygen and carbon dioxide is actually, both of these are nonpolar molecules. But the thing is that they're so small they can actually pass through that hydrophobic core relatively easily. Now then, water and ethanol. So water is hydrophilic, again, it's hydrophilic, it's water. But it's so small that a tiny bit can squeeze through the plasma membrane. Now, this is a common misconception. You probably memorized this list sometime during your undergraduate career. But water can diffuse throughout the plasma membrane, but actually has a tough time squeezing through that hydrophobic core. So it's not like water has a free pass and can just jump across the plasma membrane at will. It actually needs to squeeze through, and it's at a very, very low rate compared to if you just opened a water channel. And I'll get to that real soon. So ethanol. So the funny thing about ethanol, it's kind of like have you ever had those friends that like to hang out with one group of friends and they also have their other circle of friends? Ethanol is kind of like that. Ethanol freely dissolves in water. It's miscible in water, but the thing is that ethanol also is a favorite solvent of hydrophobic compounds. So ethanol can associate with the hydrophobic parts and can also associate with the hydrophobic parts. Now, nonpolar molecules, again, due to being nonpolar and hydrophobic, they have an easier time passing through that hydrophobic core. So things like prostaglandins and eicosanoids, well, they do have oxygen atoms, but what we see here are long hydrocarbon tails and structures. So these are nonpolar bonds here. So overall, even though there are oxygen molecules, this prostaglandin is more on the hydrophobic side. And most sterols and steroids, again with the sterols and steroids, they're all called that because they derive from cholesterol. This is where steroids come from. So all steroid hormones, they are derived from this four-ring structure of cholesterol. And what we see here, well, cholesterol does have this hydroxyl group, but the rest of this, all hydrocarbons, all nonpolar bonds. Therefore, cholesterol, unsurprisingly, it's a fat, right? It's a dietary fat. So the cholesterol is very hydrophobic. Why this is very important? Well, again, if you have a drug that's hydrophilic or hydrophobic, this is a very important property that tells you whether this drug can freely diffuse into cells or if it needs a transporter or some sort of channel that allows that drug through, or if it doesn't even enter the cell and just binds to receptors on the cell surface. So again, this is also very important in pharmacology, and in terms of absorption, distribution, and metabolism, and excretion and clearance.